Hello and welcome. I'm Leigh-Ann Gerrans and you're watching W News broadcasting live from the Al Arabiya studios. These are our top stories. US President Donald Trump meets Japan's Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi and praises the golden age of their relationship, plus signs a rare earth minerals deal. Jamaica braces as this year's strongest storm, Hurricane Melissa, approaches with deadly winds and heavy rain. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Hamas has violated terms of the ceasefire agreement after handing over the remains of a deceased hostage that had already been recovered by Israeli forces. Now, US President Donald Trump has called Japan an ally at the strongest level after meeting newly elected Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi on the second stop of his Asia tour. The two leaders signed new agreements that they say mark a golden age in relations between Washington and Tokyo. Correspondent Chris Gilbert reports.
It was an early test of Sanai Takaichi's diplomatic touch, and one she seemed eager to pass. Japan's new Prime Minister, known for her hardline image, adopted a softer tone in her first meeting with Donald Trump.
In such a short period of time, the world has become more peaceful. I highly value President Trump's unwavering commitment to world peace and stability. I myself have been deeply impressed and inspired by you.
Trump, who forged a close bond with Takaichi's mentor, the late Shinzo Abe, was quick to return the praise.
On behalf of our country, I want to just let you know, anytime you have any question, any doubt, anything you want, any favors you need, anything I can do to help Japan, we will be there. We are an ally at the strongest level.
The pair signed two new deals. The first, symbolic, marks what they call a new golden age of ties between their countries. The second lays out cooperation on critical minerals and rare earths, key to global tech and defense supply chains. A statement said the agreement is aimed at the resilience and security of critical minerals and rare earth supply chains, something that will strengthen the US position ahead of talks with Chinese leader Xi Jinping expected later this week. Beijing recently imposed new export curbs on rare earths, prompting Trump to threaten 100% tariffs in response. Japan has pledged $550 billion in US-linked investments, while Washington agreed to cap tariffs on Japanese exports at 15%. Takaichi has also vowed to raise defense spending, a move analysts say reflects growing concern over Chinese assertiveness.
All these incidents, which have happened repeatedly, have done a lot to prepare or to shift public opinion in a direction in which they are more open to accepting more active defense postures.
Trump also met families of Japanese citizens abducted by North Korea decades ago, promising US help to bring them home. A sign, perhaps, of renewed diplomatic ambition as the US president's Asia tour continues. Chris Gilbert, Al Arabiya English, Tokyo.
We can now speak to economist and CEO of Meyer Resources, Cornelia Meyer. Cornelia, brilliant to have you on the show. Thank you so much for joining me this evening.
Hello, Leigh-Ann. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. So both leaders hailed a new golden age for the US-Japan alliance after signing two agreements. One of the deals secured was the supply of rare earth and critical minerals. How essential are these to the US and the battle with China over these commodities?
Well, they're very essential to the US. They're also essential to Japan, because if you look at car production, if you look at the defense industry, if you look at a lot of the manufacturing, mobile telephones, a lot of the things Japan does and the US do need rare earths. However, it's great. I mean, it's a very vague agreement. I've read of what I could get from the agreement, and it says we will collaborate. We'll have the right policies to cooperate. However, when you look at it, the refining, especially the refining capacities to more than 90% in China, and that is not that easily moved, because the amount of acid. It's a very difficult process and a very environmentally difficult process. So the amount of acid you have to keep pouring on to get these rare earths processed, that is very difficult to do in any OECD countries, even in the US under Donald Trump. So yes, they're moving in the right direction, but how much bite it really has, especially on the refining side, I don't know.
And that's really interesting because Beijing controls the processing of almost all the world's rare earth minerals. Can Trump's new deals in Japan, Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, and Cambodia possibly change that? Or, as you were just saying to me, it's the time involved in this.
Well, it's the time involved and the environmental, the willingness to take environmental pain. And that, you're looking at 3 to 5 years. But there is some upside as well. There is one mine in Wyoming which can actually process a lot of these minerals in big quantities in an environmentally sound way because they have no radiation. So people are working at full speed to try to lessen the dependence on China.
As mentioned, China does control the rare earths the world buys, which has given Xi Jinping powerful leverage in the ongoing trade war with Washington. We know the two leaders are meeting tomorrow. On Thursday. What can we expect from this meeting between Trump and Xi?
Well, I think they will try to make nice because the U.S. needs the rare earths, and Xi needs access to the American market. So I think we will see a resolution. And I saw Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, on Sunday, saying, look, they've come up with a good framework agreement. So I think it's good. What I would like to say again also to the Japanese deal, they have $550 billion that they've said they would invest the Japanese in the US, and they have fleshed out some areas where they could do that, namely also copper, because this whole era is not about only rare earths. It's also about copper. It's also about lithium. It's about helping the electrification of the world. It's also about powering the big power demand for AI, which the data centers. So they have worked on that as well. And copper is easier. The US is planning a new processing sites, and they can easily get it from Peru, and they can easily get it from Chile. So there are other things that are important that they're really making headways on.
And how are markets reacting ahead of the meeting between the leaders of the world's two biggest economies? Because we have actually seen gold slightly dip.
Yeah, gold is slightly dipped, and you saw the stock market. I think yesterday we had an all-time high, and we also had an all-time high on the Nikkei, which is very good. And I personally, with having spent a lot of time in Japan, I personally am very happy to see that the US and Japan again see each other as such key allies.
And how regionally important is Japan for the US to make sure they do have strong allies?
It's very important. Japan and Korea are very important, as is Taiwan. But, Japan and Korea, if this one China policy of the US does worry both Japan and it does worry South Korea. And then you have North Korea on the back of it. And you saw a very clear message again with Prime Minister Takaichi and President Trump going to see families of people who were abducted by North Korea. So you have a nuclear powerful North Korea. You have China with huge military strength. So the US does need South Korea and Japan there to counterbalance China, and South Korea and Japan do need the US as a staunch ally.
And another final thought from you. Donald Trump has floated Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent as the new Fed chair. You mentioned him earlier. He's been heavily involved in these framework deals between the US and China. What do you make of this appointment that could possibly come?
Well, if it comes, I think it would be positive because he is a good economist. He knows, as we say in England, he knows his onions. So I think, and he has shown a remarkably steady hand through choppy waters since the beginning of the new Trump administration. So he would probably be a good choice, especially as he seems to get along well with Donald Trump. But it's always helpful if the Fed chair and the president get along.
Which we're not seeing now with Jerome Powell, are we? Do you expect rate cuts?
No, but you see, I expect rate cuts, yes, because looking at where the economy is. But, you know, Jerome Powell was appointed by Donald Trump in Trump 1, in the Trump 1 administration. So, yes, I expect rate cuts. And, you know, come April next year, that is the time when we'll see who the next Fed chair is. And a lot can happen between now and April next year.
24 hours is a long time in politics. Cornelia Mayer, thank you so much for your time this evening. Hurricane Melissa, the strongest storm of the year, is approaching Jamaica with winds of up to 175 miles per hour and heavy rain. Thousands have been evacuated and authorities are warning of catastrophic and life-threatening conditions. For more on this, I'm joined by correspondent Sara Firth. Sara, thank you so much for your time this evening. First of all, how powerful is Hurricane Melissa, and what makes it different from the other storms that we've seen this year so far?
Well, Leigh-Ann, this isn't just any storm. It's being described as the most powerful storm so far this year. The director of the National Hurricane Center has actually just in the last few minutes given an update. He has said that the northern portion of Hurricane Melissa's eye has now moved into western Jamaica. So he said a very dangerous scenario is expected. We've been tracking this throughout the course of the morning. And what you have is the hurricane itself described as a Category 5, so the most powerful in terms of wind speeds, in terms of that pressure coming from those winds. That has been moving towards Jamaica. Now, landfall occurs when the eye of that storm actually hits land. So it is looking like potentially Hurricane Melissa is very close or has made landfall, according to this latest update from the director of the National Hurricane Center. So in the next few hours, they are warning of winds, Leigh-Ann, potentially reaching over 200 miles per hour. Residents are being warned to stay inside. This is being described by officials as a potentially catastrophic and certainly a life-threatening scenario as that storm moves inland. What we've already seen over the course of the last hours is those very heavy winds as the eye of the storm moves towards making landfall, battering some of Jamaica's, in particular the southern coast. So very, very heavy rainfall, very, very powerful winds. And you get a bubble of calm as the eye of the storm passes over some of these areas. The officials are saying to the residents, you stay inside when that happens, because on the other side of it, you have the other side of the eye wall moving through. Jamaica right now bracing for not just the most powerful storm of this year, but potentially the most powerful storm that Jamaica has encountered since records began.
Absolutely frightening for everyone there, Sara. What are you hearing about the situation right now in Jamaica? As you said, the eye of the storm is yet to land.
Yes, we're already hearing reports of the rising water in some of those mountainous areas, those heavy winds, potentially bringing on some of those storm surges. And the visuals already coming out of Jamaica shows what some of those residents are dealing with. Now, experts at the National Hurricane Center have said up to 40 inches of rain is expected to fall in the coming days. Warnings from officials of a total structural failure. So those very powerful winds, not just bringing the storm surges and the risk of those flash floods, but also the actual structures of the buildings across parts of Jamaica, those that aren't hurricane reinforced, those potentially facing devastation. The warnings are very, very blunt from the officials. They have urged anyone who is in the path of this storm to just stay inside. Officials today saying this is not the time to be brave. So they are making absolutely clear the nature of the threat here, urging those in its path to just seek shelter, stay inside. And this, Leigh-Ann, it's not just a threat for Jamaica, but you've also got some of the surrounding areas in the region also bracing. So Haiti, Cuba, the Dominican Republic, they're all readying as well. But as we said, just in the last 10 minutes or so, you've had the director of the National Hurricane Center coming out and warning that as they are tracking this hurricane category 5, Hurricane Melissa, as it moves inland on Jamaica, about to make landfall, they're seeing the eye just about its thought touching down and already bringing those very dangerous and life-threatening situations with the winds, with the rain that residents there in Jamaica are facing.
And Sarah, you've described a terrifying scene there as the authorities and the people themselves brace for this. Has Jamaica ever seen anything like this before on this kind of scale?
No, it's set, as I said, to potentially be one of the strongest hurricanes, if not the strongest hurricane to hit Jamaica since records began. It's already surpassed the strength of Hurricane Katrina that hit New Orleans back in 2005. So the warnings are pretty dire. Jamaica has opened nearly 900, all of its emergency shelters, nearly 900 of them for people to try and seek refuge there. But at this point, Leigh-Ann, the storm is moving inland. It's nearly, if not already, made landfall. And so the warnings are that the next few hours, they're going to be potentially very violent storms, very violent winds and rain, extremely dangerous situation for those who it's hoped are sheltering in place right now. But the warnings go on much further than this, because what makes this hurricane particularly dangerous for the residents in its path in Jamaica is the fact that it's quite slow moving. So it's not just going to be the initial landfall stage when the eye of the storm hits and you get the winds on either side of that eye causing so much of that damage. But over the coming days, you're going to have the repercussions of this. As we said, the storm surges happening, the risk of flooding, all of those adding to the danger for residents. So really a moment where you are seeing people hunkered down, officials warning right now for everyone to stay in place. As we said, that warning, it is not the time, they say, to be brave. And one official, Leigh-Ann, I think summing it up really well, as everyone tracks this storm and, you know, his thoughts are with the residents in the path of this in Jamaica right now, because those visuals coming in are pretty terrifying to watch, frankly, as the winds just bending the trees, starting to hit those buildings. One official summing it up by saying, listen, when it comes to the protection urged for residents in the path, you cannot be too cautious when it comes to Hurricane Melissa and its strength and its power that we're watching play out right now.
Sarah, we're actually getting some breaking news. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has ordered immediate powerful strikes on Gaza. I just want to ask you if you can give us your reaction and what more do we know about this?
Yes, absolutely, Leigh-Ann. We're watching this unfold at the moment. So again, just in the last few minutes, really, the news breaking. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has ordered those immediate, powerful strikes on Gaza. This is over alleged ceasefire violations by Hamas. Now, what you had a little earlier on today was a security meeting convened. The Israeli Prime Minister there, we are told, was presented with a range of options by the IDF, one of those options being the resumption of strikes on Gaza. To give you a little bit more context around how this decision came about, in the last few days, you've had Israel accusing Hamas of violation of the ceasefire agreements for not returning the remains of those 13 unaccounted for hostages, their bodies. Hamas, for its part, has come out and accused Israel of hampering efforts for the search. Remembering they're dealing with a very difficult situation on the ground. They've got the yellow line that's been designated by the IDF. They're dealing with the devastation of Gaza, so the bodies presumably in many of these areas under rubble. So Hamas have hit back against that allegation. Today, that security meeting was convened. The Israeli Prime Minister was there, and Benjamin Netanyahu has, it seems, ordered the resumption of immediate and powerful strikes on Gaza. That is breaking news at the moment. We're waiting for some feedback and response from the White House. What I can tell you, Leigh-Ann, is that in the last few days, you've had President Trump, he's come out on social media. He had said recently, just a few days ago, we have a very strong peace in the Middle East, and I believe it has a good chance of being everlasting. But Hamas is going to have to start returning the bodies of deceased hostages, including 2 Americans, quickly, or other countries involved in this great peace will take action. Well, clearly, Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel taking that action today, ordering the resumption of strikes on Gaza. Big questions here for the Trump administration is, did Israel get the green light from the US to resume strikes on Gaza in this way? Was the US notified? It's thought that for the ceasefire, any resumption of strikes would presumably have gone to some kind of conversation with the United Nations, with the United States. It's not clear at this point whether that's happened. What is clear is that the news breaking today that Benjamin Netanyahu has ordered the resumption of strikes on Gaza and that very fragile ceasefire there. It seems, Leigh-Ann, unfortunately for the time being, failing to hold.
Yes, and that ceasefire is 2 weeks in the making. So, Sarah, thank you so much to reacting to us for that breaking news that we just had there regarding Israel. Much appreciated. Now, the latest news comes after Netanyahu said Hamas has violated terms of the ceasefire agreement after handing over the remains of a deceased hostage that had already been recovered by Israeli forces. Earlier, I spoke to Israeli journalist Hananya Naftali about the latest developments. Take a listen. Hananya, thanks so much for joining me today. A pleasure to have you on the show. First of all, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel will respond after Hamas handed over human remains that didn't belong to missing hostages. What military retaliation is being prepared, and can the world expect to see further bombardment of Gaza?
Well, it's good to be here with you. I do have to say that it's very devastating right now for families who wait to finally close this chapter and bury their loved ones. But unfortunately, Hamas is in its 1,000, or I don't know, I stopped counting, violation of the ceasefire. I don't know the exact retaliation that Israel is planning, but I do have to say that we have to get this done. Bring the hostages, the remaining dead hostages that are being held in Gaza. I read reports that say that Hamas knows where at least 6, if I'm not wrong, hostages are. And we also, the videos, how they were just in such a disrespectful way. They threw the remaining of this body that they delivered to Israel last night. They threw it into a pit. Then they called the Red Cross and said, we found a body. and it's all on camera. So this just shows you the true colors of Hamas. And that also explains to all of us in the Middle East that no wonder why countries like the UAE, Saudi, and others ban Hamas and classify it as a terror organization. Because I have to say, if Hamas cared about Palestinians as much as it hates Israel, Gaza would have looked like Dubai, not like a battlefield that we see today.
Senior Hamas officials are calling for more help and heavy equipment to retrieve hostages' bodies buried deep beneath the rubble. And you and myself and the world has seen all the pictures of Gaza and the immense destruction across the whole landscape. Does Israel accept this, and are they prepared to help with the ongoing effort to find those remaining hostages that are still buried in Gaza?
Well, of course, that's a priority as far as Israel is concerned, to bring the remaining dead hostages. I mean, as a human being, I have to say it's just devastating to even think that a dead hostage is being kept in captivity simply because they are, simply because Hamas hates the state of Israel. I have to say that Israel sanctifies life, and that is why we see everything that we see right now, that the IDF, together with the coalition of countries that actually backed Trump's plan, working to bring the remaining dead hostages to burial here in Israel, and that we sanctify life. This is a very important value to us. Unfortunately, Hamas sanctifies death, and it has little to no regard to not only Israeli lives but also Palestinian lives, and that's very, very unfortunate, because Palestinians do deserve a leadership that cares about them more than destroying Israel.
You say that Israel sanctifies life, and that's something you repeated to me more than once in your answer there. But it's predicted 68,500 people have died in Gaza since October the 7th. How concerning is that if you sanctify life, that so many people have lost their lives? We're talking about children, mothers, not just Hamas terrorists, very many people, and Israel continues to bombard Gaza. Is that sanctifying life?
Well, that's a very interesting question. I have to say, this big number that you're referring to is being put forward by the Gaza Health Ministry, which is run by Hamas. And you would agree with me that Hamas has an interest to inflate numbers and to make Israel look bad, right? But even if we take this number as, at face value, that itself proves that Israel is not carrying genocide, because the Gaza Strip has a population of about 2 million people. So even if you take this number at face value, it proves that in this 2-year war, and we all know that Israel has great military capabilities. When you see even this number, it shows you that Israel goes to great lengths to avoid civilian casualties. And by the way, I have to tell you, I served in the army as a combat medic, and I treated with my own hands Palestinian civilians. So it's very clear, the Israeli army has no goal of targeting civilians. We are instructed to not target any civilian, but unfortunately you see a terror organization that cynically uses Palestinian lives to launch attacks on Israel. So the pointing finger should be at the Hamas terror organization that would rather seek the destruction of Israel than to care for the Palestinians in Gaza.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is actually in court today for corruption, as Israel's reputation on the international stage does continue to deteriorate. We have seen pro-Palestinian protests in the UK, the US, and also many other countries around the world. How detrimental is this global isolation for Israel and also for the US, which has shown unwavering backing?
I think that we see very clearly that the president of the United States, a world superpower that just visited Israel, that clearly shows and proves that Israel is not facing an isolation. When you see the president of such a country like the United States coming to Israel, visiting, look, Netanyahu has accomplished a lot for the sake of Israel and delivering this victory on the seventh front war that we're dealing with. But I think that what you see today and trials, be protests, it only shows the beauty of Israel's democracy. People can protest, people can have their opinions, and at the end of the day, the vote of the people is what counts. So I think that that's what we're seeing here today. Whether the media chooses to focus on one thing, there are a lot and plenty of people around the world and in Israel that are thankful for the leadership of Prime Minister Netanyahu and for the accomplishments that he delivered.
There are also many people that are angry about it and are protesting across the world. But I just want to speak to you a little bit about Charlie Kirk, if I can. He'd long been an ally of pro-Israel organizations, though in the recent months before his death, he did voice frustration about Jewish donor influence in US politics. In text messages that were released after his death, he said, "I just lost another Jewish donor because I wouldn't cancel Tucker Carlson." What do you make of this, and why is Tucker Carlson such a threat? And do you think that Charlie Kirk honestly felt pressure from his Jewish donors?
I think that Charlie Kirk was a staunch supporter of Israel. I mean, he expressed it on almost every platform that he had. Him and I were actually supposed to get to know each other. He was following me on social media platforms, but I have to say he clearly stated that he loves Israel. And so in that regard, I have to say whatever Tucker is pushing or Candace Owens, I think that they don't pose a threat to Israel. They pose a threat to truth itself, because they're pushing conspiracy theories without any factual base to that. And I think it's very unfortunate that the mere focus that they have is on Israel. Meanwhile, you see countries like Qatar that they gift billions of dollars to Ivy League universities across America, and you see China that is trying to expand its influence in the United States. But so I wonder whether Tucker Carlson or Candace Owens, they have foreign interests that, and that is, I wonder if that's what causing them and leading them to bash Israel. Look, it's okay to criticize policies of Israel. It's okay to have your different opinions of Israel, but speak about facts, and it's okay to express your opinion. But when you're pushing anti-Semitism disguised like that, this is not going to achieve any goal other than pushing hate.
So you think Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson are wrong in what they're doing, and also talking out about AIPAC and its lobbying of US lawmakers?
Well, in regards to AIPAC, this is it's probably under agenda to focus on AIPAC and try to portray Israel like Israel controls the United States of America. I think that that's an insult to the intelligent people of the United States, that a small country that's over 7,000 miles away from the United States is somehow controlling the United States. We are strong allies. And just like AIPAC, you have other lobbying groups in America, like you have in other democracies, the Chinese lobby, the lobby for environmental causes. So and then there's AIPAC. Does that mean that because there is AIPAC, that it has Congress in its pocket, or that it has the United States in its pocket? It's absurd. I think that it's people that believe these vicious lies. They should dig more and understand the truth that Israel is America's strongest ally in the region. We share mutual goals, and also Israel's victory over terrorism is America's victory over terrorism, because at the end of the day, countries like the Islamic Republic of Iran, they don't want to stop with Israel. They see us as an obstacle to taking over the Middle East and then the West, and Israel stands in the middle. We will not apologize for defending ourselves, obviously, and for safeguarding our future.
Journalist Hananya Naftali, it was brilliant to have your thoughts on the show. I appreciate your time with us. Well, since our interview with Israeli journalist Hananya Naftali, there's been some breaking news. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has ordered strikes on the Gaza Strip after accusing Hamas of violating the US-brokered ceasefire. Hamas says it will postpone the handover of a deceased hostage body it's recovered, while citing Israel's violation of the agreement. Some breaking news to bring you there. Now, in an exclusive interview with Arabiya, the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, Jamie Dimon, has said AI is as transformative as the steam engine, and peace in the Middle East is key to the growth of foreign direct investment. He spoke to senior presenter Fatima Dawi in Riyadh as the bank celebrated its 90th anniversary in Saudi Arabia. Take a listen.
The Gulf has been growing well for a long time, and you have real development of economies, and obviously Saudi Arabia, which you could see
from the window.
Anywhere you look, you can see it. But you have it in the UAE, Qatar. So we're quite optimistic, and our job is to serve the clients here and serve the country over an extended period of time. And so I'm quite optimistic about the future.
What's the missing puzzle to see more foreign direct investment come into Saudi Arabia? The numbers are good, but they could be better. So what's missing in your view?
Yeah, first of all, I think it will be going up. I mean, there's a focus on it. You're building data centers now. And
the incentives
but I
huge.
think one of the huge things that's going to help drive it is peace in the Middle East. I mean, and I give Saudi Arabia a lot of the credit for that, maybe the sole credit, the breakthrough. That peace in the Middle East will give people much more comfort to invest in it, in Saudi Arabia, but the GCC writ large. And I think that's the door that opens up. If you have the whole region can continue to grow aggressively and develop new industries like technology, and I think that might be the key.
So you do expect it to go up going forward?
I think it'll go up either way, but
Yeah.
if you have real peace in the region, which I'm hoping, I know it's hard, but I think that would make a big difference. Gen AI is fairly new, and we have hundreds of use cases of risk, fraud, marketing. I think the difference, AI is huge. It is going to transform a lot of different things. It's much faster than the internet. I mean, it's going to be developed faster than the steam engine, than those other things. So some of the electricity, some of those things took a long time to put the lines in to make electricity available to people in a country. And in total, it'll pay off. But there will be winners and losers in all of that. I'm not particularly worried about that. It will, of course, it'll affect jobs. Just like every technology affected jobs, and every technology is used by bad people too. So that's why governments have to be a little thoughtful that we get the best out of AI and not the worst. It's already been used by criminals all over the place on cyber, et cetera. And so for jobs, it'll create more productivity. Like you could have done an LLM model to do your notes and ask questions. It may eliminate some jobs, but my view is let's retrain people and redeploy them and income assistance, and we're going to be fine. Like mankind, I really believe this, like in 30, 40 years, my grandkids will be working 3.5 days a week.
That's what we want.
Yeah, they'll be spending more time in family and art and nature and wonderful things. It'll cure a lot of cancers. It'll come up with stronger materials. It'll eliminate a lot of crashes and plane crashes. Why would you not be in favor of that? The only risk is that it happens too fast for society, in which case we need to adjust. That government and business should say, okay, let's slow down the development of this. We just can't take all these people and put them on the street. And I think that's easily doable and thoughtful. And most people, we redeploy most people that if we find they don't need them anymore. If they're talented, we just find something else for them, give them a little training and move them to something else.
That's a good side of AI, but what's happening in the stock markets and the bull that's going on with AI stocks, do you think this is a bubble? Where is it heading? Are we talking about an overvaluation? People are too optimistic, too excited about holding AI stocks in the markets?
I really don't know, because I want to go back to the internet bubble. And looking back in 2001, you said, my God, the bubble burst and valuations came down. But remember, out of all of that, we got Google and Facebook and YouTube and gaming, and we provide that big loan to PIF, by the way, to buy electronic arts. So all these things came out.
The 50 billion one?
20, but
20.
That made the whole thing worthwhile, even though in all the players, there were a lot of winners and losers. So in this thing, there may be winners and losers, but the whole thing will probably be worthwhile.
You've warned for years about economic headwinds. Are we already in the storm? Are we not yet there? Are we still waiting for it? Where are we?
Yeah, I wish I hadn't said the cockroach thing. It got far more attention than it deserved. So here's what it was. And we'll go to the United States for now.
Yes.
And I'm going to put geopolitics aside. That is the most important thing for the future of the world, that we keep the world safe and free and bar nothing and dwarfs. Whether you have a recession, I consider that the weather. I don't worry about that. Whether we have a recession, we're going to continue to invest exactly the same way in Saudi Arabia. Just like we continue to invest exactly the same way with their clients, around the world. So what you had in the United States, you've had very good growth for a while. We've been in the soft landing. Markets seem to expect a soft landing, which partially explains why asset prices are quite high. And you have, I think you do have some tailwinds, which is, a very pro-business president, which is good, a pro-deregulation president. I think regulations just in America and elsewhere have been really damaging the ability to grow and innovate. And those things are free. Good policy, deregulation is free. They want to unleash the banks. I think the banks can do more to help countries in general.
Now, a reminder of our top stories. Breaking news, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has ordered strikes on the Gaza Strip after accusing Hamas of violating the US-brokered ceasefire deal. US President Donald Trump meets Japan's new Prime Minister, Sanai Takaichi, and praises the golden age of their relationship, plus signs a rare earth minerals deal. Jamaica braces as this year's strongest storm, Hurricane Melissa, approaches with deadly winds and heavy rain. And that's all from us on W News. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Of course, follow us on X. And we'll be back in a couple of hours with W News Extra. Goodbye, and thank you for joining us.